We have just witnessed the single most catastrophic political collapse in the history of the United States, and I need you to stop everything you are doing and listen to me, because what just happened on the floor of the United States Senate is the absolute end of the Trump presidency. 2 minutes ago, on live national television, the leadership of the Republican Party, the very men and women who have enabled, protected, and shielded Donald Trump for a decade publicly and furiously abandoned him. We are not talking about a leaked memo or a quiet rumor. We are talking about the Senate leadership standing at the podium and declaring that the President of the United States is a criminal liability who must be removed from office immediately. Donald Trump is currently in a state of absolute, unmitigated panic inside the White House because he just watched his political life support be unplugged by the only people left who could have saved him. You need to understand the magnitude of this betrayal. For years, Donald Trump has operated under the assumption that the Republican Senate was his personal firewall. He believed that no matter what crimes he committed, no matter how much money he stole, and no matter how many Americans he hurt, they would always vote to acquit. That assumption just died on live TV. The furious denunciation we just saw was not just a break in the ranks, it was a coordinated execution of his political career. The Senate leader cited the overwhelming evidence of the Venezuela coup, the undeniable proof of financial fraud, and the moral repugnance of the violence in Minneapolis as the reasons they can no longer stand with him. They effectively told the American people that the president is a traitor to his oath, and they are washing their hands of him. Let us be very clear about why Donald Trump is in panic mode right now. It is because he knows that without the Senate, he has no protection from the Department of Justice. He has no protection from the Southern District of New York. He has no protection from the International Criminal Court. The Senate was the only thing standing between him and a prison cell. And when those leaders walked away from the podium just moments ago, they took his freedom with them. We are hearing reports that the president is screaming at his television, demanding that his aides get the senators on the phone. But nobody is picking up. He is being ghosted by his own party. He is isolated, he is exposed, and he is terrified. However, we must look deeper at what triggered this sudden explosion of truth on the Senate floor. Why now? Why today? It is because of the arrest of his lawyer. It is because of the seizure of Trump Tower. The Republican leadership realized that the ship is not just sinking, it is already at the bottom of the ocean. They realized that if they continued to defend a man whose lawyer was handcuffed in front of a jury, they would lose their own seats. They would lose their own power. This is not an act of courage. It is an act of survival. They are cutting off the gangrenous limb to save the body of the party. But for Donald Trump, the result is the same total, complete abandonment. I want you to think about the ICE war zone narrative that we have been exposing. The Senate leaders specifically mentioned the misuse of federal law enforcement in their statement. They finally admitted that Operation Metro Surge was a disaster. They finally admitted that the killing of Alex Preddy was a bridge too far. This is a massive vindication for every activist, every nurse, and every citizen who stood up in Minneapolis and said no. The pressure worked. The truth broke through. The Republican establishment looked at the polling, looked at the protests, and looked at the body count, and they decided that Donald Trump is simply too expensive to keep. The panic in the West Wing is also driven by the financial implications of this abandonment. Donald Trump knows that his fundraising depends on the perception of power. If the Senate abandons him, the donors abandon him. We are already seeing the mega donors pulling their support. They do not invest in losers. They do not invest in presidents who are about to be convicted. Donald Trump is facing a future where he is not only legally liable, but financially destitute. The grift requires a position of authority, and that authority just evaporated on live television. You have to appreciate the irony of this moment. Donald Trump demands absolute loyalty. He demands that everyone bend the knee.